Welcome to the Sassy Kitchen Class Cooking Channel. We're going to teach you today how to make butter in 30 minutes. This butter can be used for cooking, it can be used for grilling, or any other application, such as directly putting on bread, pancakes, or any other thing we might want to desire to put butter on. The only material and products you need to gather in order to make this butter in 30 minutes is heavy whipping cream. You'll need 1 carton. Some sea salt in a grinder, a high-speed automatic mixer, a sheet pan prepared with parchment paper, a toothpick or slim spatula, containers, and then you might desire to use some kitchen towels to protect any decor that you have in your kitchen.
Well, hello! We're making homemade sweet cream butter today. So the easiest way that I have found to do this is to honestly use a automated mixer. I have seen individuals trying to make butter in blenders. I've even tried it myself. I would recommend you highly avoid that as a pitfall. It creates, yes, a mess, but a mess in a different way. So I have covered up my pretties here in the kitchen because this is going to create a bit of a splatter, and I'm aware of that. So the benefit from using a blender is, well, you got a lid on it so it doesn't splatter everywhere. But we want the beaters to collect all the butter for us. This reduces the extra work involved in squeezing out all the additional fluid. The fluid that we're going to get from this is buttermilk. So I've already made up 1 batch to get us started here. So at the end of the day, the beaters are going to collect all the butter for us. Then we just eject the beaters out of the mixer. All the butter is there. You can throw it in a bowl, add in your salt if you want salt or other seasonings as applicable. So I will make 2 batches normally when I make butter. Do not put the 2 things of heavy whipping cream to do a double batch into this mixer. The single carton is going to fill both of these beaters to capacity, and it'll be up to about here on my mixer by the time it collects all the butter for us. So if you double that, there's nowhere for that butter to go, and it's not going to work, and there's going to be too much, and then your bowl's going to get wonky, and you're probably going to break your mixer, honestly. So I'm going to make 2 batches, and the first one I just did regular salted sweet cream, and it's about grilling time. So I'm going to make delicious, amazing grilling butter that's still homemade, but I add the Kinder's buttery steakhouse seasoning to it, and then I'll still roll it into these butter balls. So allow me to get the butter balls out real quick. So I pre-staged this and did my first batch, and I've already got them rolled out into nice little butter balls. So on this side, I have created some butter balls still, and I use a toothpick to just etch in and score these little X's on the top. So that's useful when you want to put seasonings and other stuff in it. After you roll the butter balls, you just need to put them in the refrigerator so they finish firming up and getting hardened before you throw them into a bowl. Now that I have them firmed up, I can just place them basically into my little butterball containers that I use. They fit perfectly in my own refrigerator, so you're probably going to want a low profile small bowl. And then you'll notice they're already all firmed up. They haven't even sat in the refrigerator for 10 minutes at this point yet. And I'm going to make myself a couple butterball containers. So when I'm cooking and I need butter, and I made some of different sizes. So I do that to avoid having to use too many small bowls when I'm cooking, so I can grab the size of butter for the amount that I actually need. So I will roll them into a couple different sizes, and then I etch them. So this first batch here is regular salted sweet cream butter. So all I did was, after I collected the butter off the beaters, I threw it into a light mixing bowl. I used a fork to blend in and smash around the actual salt. And then I used sea salt out of a grinder when I did that. So the benefit for us making our own butter, even for cooking, you buy store-bought sweet cream butter, I mean, we don't know how much salt is actually in there, right? What is all in there? And then it impacts your health And when you're cooking, then if you add salt, you already had salt in the butter, you're definitely getting too much salt in your diet. So something you want to watch out for. Now, basil pretty much goes with everything. So I use basil a lot with seasoning. So I just went ahead and expedited it. So when I'm cooking, I can just grab my basil butter balls. They also have the salt in it. And I go very light on the salt because I'm still going to cook with salt. So again, I'm controlling how much dietary salt my family is intaking, and it still tastes delicious, and it's just amazing. So altogether, from start to finish, this probably takes around a total of 30 minutes by the time that we're done. And the other benefit, when you roll the balls into butter balls, instead of shaping it, you could shape it into like a block of butter, use wax paper. You could put it into just a simple jar and then have a scoopable, like you'd get a knife or a butter spoon to extract the butter out when you're going to go use it. However, when you roll it into the balls, you basically get another benefit. Your hands are going to get so conditioned and smooth, and you didn't even have to buy any kind of external or other additional product to achieve that goal. Now, the buttermilk is actually usable afterwards. So you'll notice there are some chunks still in the buttermilk. That's the butter still being extracted. So you would need to strain this out before permanently storing it. Some other great uses for that buttermilk are to use it in making homemade slaw, gravies. There's a couple different great things you can do with that. But you don't want to store it for just too long. So it's going to expire along with when the milk product, or aka our heavy whipping cream, would also expire. And as you can see, all the butter is collected right directly on our beaters. But it does create a very large splash mess. So that would be the negative. So at this point, all we have to do is pull out the extracted butter. So this is why you want to use a mixer versus a blender. There's no squeezing and draining. You almost have to use cheesecloth to get all the extra buttermilk pressed out of it when you do it in a blender. So this way we do not have those problems. So at this point, we can go ahead, and we started with only the sweet cream, right? So now I'm going to add some salt. And again, that is sea salt that I have just crushed in there. And I'm going to be kind of careful, right? So I'm just going to kind of use a fork to work and blend in that salt so that it's not stuck on the top layer of our butter. And then I'm smashing it through to do that. As we normally cook with salt, you want to kind of be careful, again, from putting too much salt in it initially. And once you've gotten that done, we're going to take a pan, and our goal is to roll them and then etch them so that we can put them into little containers, and basically it's a pre-made cooking bowl butter. So you could, again, roll them or shape them into like a stick of butter. You could just put them into a container and scoop it. But as you can see, the butter is very pliable right now. So we want to roll it into these balls, and we want to do this very quickly. So my hands, the more I do this, my hands are going to warm up, and it's going to become harder and harder to get great, amazing shaped butter balls out of this. And especially without it sticking to me as well. So we're going to do this, and I'm going to make some standard kind of uniform sized balls out of it. And the best advice I can give you on making the balls, really just cup your hands and go really fast. You might end up with some pancake looking kind of butter balls if you press too hard or don't cup your hands enough. But basically our goal right now is before this starts softening by the atmosphere, right? It's not in the refrigerator yet. We want to get it all shaped. And we want to shape them into these butter balls so we can just grab them out of the container anytime we are cooking. You might have seen butter balls by Land O'Lakes offered and sold in bags, especially during the holiday time. So, you could also use this butter directly as that. So you could just serve it, put it on a table, and everybody can pick up a butter ball and put it on their homemade bread or whatever you were serving that they might want to butter. Works great on pancakes, French toast, waffles. But think about what you're going to do with it, specifically when you make the butter ball sizes. So I'll get myself just a couple larger ones out of the deal. Saves me from using 2 butter balls instead of 1, depending on what I'm doing and how much butter I need to work in the kitchen. So again, that's just a work ahead for you. Otherwise, try to keep the balls uniform, so they're all sized the same proportions. So each one of these, I've made my own so long now. I just kind of know how much to put in there. I don't use a spoon. I prefer the fork. I think it sticks butter-wise more to a spoon than a fork. So, honestly, this is probably about a tablespoon of butter at the end of the day if we were to measure this out, right? So, again, if the goal is for speed cooking and with our own amazing home butter, we want to make sure we're making the proportions correctly sized for what we're going to do with it. If I was going to serve this for like Christmas or Thanksgiving or some kind of big family event, I would be making a lot smaller butter balls. I would basically take this into half. Now you'll start seeing as we're getting to the bottom, we're starting to deal with a little bit more of this buttermilk that's left in there. But it spins off in your hands, so it goes down into this bowl that I'm using. Another reason to shape it. And then you can see I'm squeezing the last pieces to make sure there's no buttermilk left in there. And then what I would typically do is use a toothpick to basically etch in a little shape on the top of each one of my little butter balls. Now, would you have to do this? Absolutely not. I prefer them when I'm cooking to look a certain way. So I'm kind of one of those perfectionists. I just want it to be nice looking butter when I go to grab it and use it. So I just make a X insignia on the top of it. The other benefit from doing that is if you're going to add additional seasonings, so it's about grilling time, I am going to add some of that Kinder's butter seasoning to about half of these. And it just gives your butter, again, you can mix it directly into the butter when I was mixing it with the salt in it. I've done it that way as well, which is also equally good. But you have to be careful with that, not to get too much in the butter ball, and then everything is just so overpowered by that spice. So use it, but use it wisely. Now, as soon as I get all of these etched, what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to stick this pan in the top shelf of my refrigerator, and that's going to start making the butter harden. I want to get it all hardened back up before I attempt to store it or to put it in containers. Now you'll see where occasionally, see I got some buttermilk drips here. So again, I'm going to let this get all firmed up for about 10 minutes in the top shelf of my refrigerator. Then when I get this back out, I'm just going to wipe down the butter balls before I put them in a container to store them. A little bit of buttermilk left behind isn't going to hurt anything. But of course, you can't wipe these down until after it firms back up. So that's really all there is to making your own butter. It's super quick. You can control your salt intake for you and your whole family, and they just taste delicious. Okay, so as you guys can see here, 1 carton of the sweet heavy whipping cream that made sweet cream butter resulted in 2 of my regular sized butter bowls. Now I will again use these so that I can store them in a very specific spot and shelf here in my fridge. It just slides right in. So I'm going to encourage you guys to think of the storage and what you're going to put them in. The ones that I made that have basil in them, I stored them in this way. So it's not a super huge container, but it's large enough to hold that group of entire complete butter. I divide the other 2 into 2s, and then obviously when one bowl is gone, I just bring the other one forward. So again, they look really good, they taste amazing, and it's super easy to make.